they decided to go off the gold, and that was right before 1970. So we were in a quandary, is a good word, for our economics, because now we don't have a dollar that's backed by gold. What's going to happen? Well, this is right when we had the oil embargo, folks. This was right when Israel, the Six-Day War, this is right when Israel kicked butt over there. Israel, and the politics about why they did it and what happened. I can tell you what happened, but the why of it is somebody for scholars to determine. But what happened was, we supported Israel, and they kicked Egypt's butt. They kicked every Arab nation over it. But the Arab nations provoked Israel. Okay, this is factually correct. And Israel had somebody, Netanyahu-like, that wouldn't take it. And they took care of business. Now, Saudi Arabia and the OPEC nations, after they got their butts kicked all over the Middle East, their eyes, you can see the whites of their eyes. Their eyes were this wide open, and so Nixon and Kissinger, but I don't think Nixon was actually this smart. I think Kissinger is. I think Kissinger is part of a cabal of the European bankers, by the way, who tried to get this country back in the War of 1812. That's what that was, when they tried to take us back, and that Francis Scott Key thing that we do a lot of times was a testimony to the fact that we had patriots rise up and would give everything to see that that flag was still there. Sometime I'll do that again with Francis Scott Key, not tonight. But this corrupt bargain I want to talk about, folks, because I want to tie it into what's happening, the ignorance of the voting electorate. They're not stupid, they're smart, but this corrupt bargain that we hooked up with Kissinger going over to the South ruling family. And their eyes was this wide open. They were scared. They were afraid Israel was going to knock the secular rulers of these Muslim nations. See, this is what we have to understand. We've really got to understand this. We have iron-fisted dictators that we put over Islamic nations to try to keep them in line. And when I say in line, remember the word in line, because in line means a lot. What is in line to the United States? In line is that you sell your oil in U.S. dollars, and the money you make in the transition, you buy our treasury bills for debt. That's the deal that Henry Kissinger made with the Saudi ruling elite, the family. That's nice. The problem is, the secular leadership, the secular rulership of these nations isn't the Islamic Tawidists of their Islam population. Okay, the Tawidists, I got to, it's a very important term, and I laid it on you. Some of you know what it is. The Wahhabists in Saudi Arabia are the true Islamists. They believe. They call for what we talk about as the original intent of our founding fathers. Well, they call for the original intent of Muhammad. It's called Tawheed. It's called, if the book says it, do it. And the fact of the matter is, we know what the book says. I don't read I'm sorry to say Islam. Is it Arabic? Is that what it's written? I don't read that. I have enough trouble reading English. But I do trust some people who have read it. And these are very scholarly people. It says what it says. Now listen, this corrupt bargain that we struck with them caused them to sell all of their oil in U.S. dollars. And now what that did for the debt machine, here's how I'm going to tie this up to what's happening this very day. I think it's the most important thing we can talk about. Because obviously the people we get voted into offices across the land and state and local, they're not doing our bidding. There are bargains every day that they make that we have no idea why. And I want to be fair with those. I don't want to call them all corrupt bargains. But they're bargains nonetheless, because they don't follow the reasonality of what we sent them there for. Now this corrupt bargain that Saudi Arabia and Henry Kissinger came up with was that we will sell your oil in nothing but U.S. dollars. What that did is our Federal Reserve then, because we went off the gold standard, folks, listen to me. Listen to this very carefully. Somebody says $20 trillion in debt. Okay, we can fix that in about 10 years. Here's something we can't fix that nobody talks about. It was mentioned one time today. There's over $100 trillion in unfunded liabilities that you and I are responsible for. How many of you know that? $100 trillion, folks. Somebody said $1 trillion with $100 bills stacked. Brand new ones, stacked face to face. $1 trillion goes to the moon and 3/4 of the way back. Oh, it's a lot of money. 100 of those, $100 trillion of unfunded liability. We have had that debt machine of the Federal Reserve pumping out, haven't we? Because it's only accounted for with accountants. People enter it. When we send debt or aid to other countries, it's debt dollars, folks. We don't have it. We just increase it. Kerry's vote, he didn't vote to increase the debt, but what Kerry Venturello did was didn't block the vote to increase the debt because the debt was increased. And there was abortion in that bill, and there was funding for the executive proclamation of amnesty. That was in there. And Obamacare was in there. This corrupt bargain, folks, in 1970, all of the money that's been put out in the world in currency reserves, there's a reason, and I'm not smart. Sometimes I pose to be. I'm a good, I can stand it. I'm not afraid. I'll say what I think, but I'm not always right, but I don't know it. Because if I was wrong, I would say I'm sorry and say I was wrong. But I'm going to tell you something. This debt, that corrupt bargain has authorized is why Democrats are ignorant. Boy, I hit a street up. I'm going to get some criticism there. Well, come, bring it on. Democrats are ignorant. They're not stupid. You know why? Here's a good example. I can talk to, I love people. I love people. You can be an absolute dyed-in-the-wool Democrat, and I'll still love you. But I will challenge you. Why, if you say you're pro-life, will you vote for a Democrat? You tell me why you'll do that, because you've seared your soul on the altar of commerce. I say that a lot. I use that. If you sear your soul on the altar of commerce, you are willing to, with a willing suspension of disbelief, cast off something you know to be right in order to get something. The Democrat Party knows that they can be race baiters and get votes, and the reason they need votes is to get largesse from government. Well, largesse from government, as Henry de Tocqueville said, when a voting electorate realizes that they can vote themselves largesse, the democracy has failed. And folks, I got news for you. Our democracy has failed. The Republic hasn't died yet, but I'm going to tell you something. That corrupt bargain that just happened yesterday, it could be the death march. It could be the death watch for the Republic. We have been trying to reach for remedy in this caucus for 5 years. 5 years we've been doing this. And up until recently, we believed we could do it. I believe we could do it. I don't want to affect what you folks think about how we can fix this, but I no longer believe the Republican Party is the fix. I believe it's patriot Americans who are the fix. And those don't have to be necessarily Republicans. A couple of caucuses ago, I told folks that you're going to have to take the R away from my name because I am now independent. And I do not support a third party. We need to be clear about this. And I always will vote Republicans because as long as their platform calls for pro-life, less government, cut spending, and less taxes, I'm for that. But what I'm not for is them lying to us when they get in the back rooms. There's got to be a price to pay for that. You're not going to call me one of you. I'm going to support you when you do right, and I'm going to challenge you to do wrong, and I'm not going to have a governor come to me and send his lieutenant governor down here because I would back off.
Did you
I'm not going to be held accountable to Republicans that will offer a bargain dangerously close to a corrupt bargain. Now, in fairness to Brian Kelly, when he came here to speak, it was not a quid pro quo. I did not agree to not have that conference on Islam in order to get Brian Kelly here. What I realized was that if we lost the ability to take the Senate and Rick Snyder lost the governorship here, that the Willow Run Tea Party caucus would get blamed for it. And I didn't want that. So before, and they did call me. Brian Kelly called me. His office person, at his behest, called and wanted to reason with me. And I told her, I said, I've already made a decision about this. And because I made the decision, Brian came. But I felt accountable to the Republican Party because we've been trying to reach for remedies. So I didn't have this anti-Sharia, anti-Rick Snyder, anti-Islam rally because it was going to be big, folks. It was going to be big. I had 2 4-star generals who were willing to come. I had them willing to bring the people who they know, who wanted Rick Snyder's hide, because he addressed the Islamists. I'm not going to say that he opened his arms to Muslims. I'm going to say this, and I've said it before, but I need to be on record. There is no, challenge me. Right now I'm giving you permission to come back at me and challenge me before question and answers. If I'm wrong about this, challenge me. There is no such thing as a secular Muslim. Who says there's a secular Muslim? Does anybody say there's a secular Muslim? There's not. Their identity is Muslim because of Islam, because of the Quran. Islam is the reason we have all these problems. Islam is the reason that this city, shining city on the hill, is between these 2 bodies of water. And Islam chased us here, folks. And now they found a way to get here. With the technology of aerospace and all of that. Obama, and I don't like even calling him President Obama, he deserves the disrespect of last name only, or maybe even Hussein Obama. It's going to apply pretty well when you hear my contention right now.
How about dude?
Well, that's a whole another seminar.